Stop podcast surfing. You're in the right place. I've always wanted to sing. Hi, everyone. I am your host, Kimbralon B. I am a licensed counselor, but I'm not your counselor. I'm also the host of Good Tea and Reads. So I created Good Tea and Reads so we could use everyday topics, issues, and current events to explain the importance of mental health awareness. Mental health discussions are so important because so many suffer in silence or do not realize that they're dealing with mental health issues because of stigmas, society and family expectations, and other reasons. Some episodes on Good Tea and Reads are heavy and will make us think. Other episodes will be very enlightening or refreshing. But either way, you will have an awesome experience. Here's the disclaimer. Any information shared on Good Tea and Reads is not a substitute for seeking professional care from another professional. Any information shared on Good Tea and Reads is not meant to diagnose the subjects or persons discussed on this podcast. All right, so enough of this intro. All right, so go grab your cups really quick so I can pour this piping hot tea. Meet me on the inside at one, two, three. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Tea and Reads. This is your hostess with the Most-est, Kimbralon B. So excited to be here with you today. A quick question. So, how are you doing? hmm Hope I'm hearing some good stuff. Sound like some good stuff. If not, hopefully that this show will be a pick me up for you today. All right, so I'm pretty excited about today's show. Our episode is titled Mental Health and Com-ET. I always like to throw T in there, right? Good tea and reads, right? But really it's pronounced mental health and comedy. And we will explore on today's show the beneficial connection between laughter, humor, and mental health. Then we are actually switching sides to examine the life of a comedian, the great and not so great sides of mental health and being a comedian. Remember when I said in shows before that sometimes I will do my show solo, and then there'll be other times where I'll be bringing on special guests. Well, today I'm so excited, everyone, because I have a real life comedian, Kayla Wildchild Howard, on Good Tea and Reads today to actually shed light and some jokes into the life of being a comedian. So, those that's been here with me, you know the routine. If you don't remember, don't worry about it. I'll give you a reminder, okay? There are some that's probably new that's joining the show today. I just want to say welcome to Good Tea and Reads. All right, I know I said it at the beginning of the show, but I wanted to give you a personal, heartfelt welcome from the bottom of my heart, okay? And I would encourage you to go back and listen to some of the previous episodes and then come back after this episode because I'll have some pretty exciting topics and they're actually tied into mental health. So it's a win win. And it's okay if you listen to this show, you can hit follow, you can like, whichever it asks you to do, because I know it's so many platforms out there. But I encourage you to share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies. Maybe it'll be some strategies I can actually share that'll help you reconcile those relationships, okay? And it's okay if you listening to the show and I say something, you be like, yes, sis. Yeah. That's it right there. If there's any church folks listening, it's okay if you say preach. All right. Now, I'm not a preacher, but it's okay for you to say preach if that's what you want to say. My Texas peeps, it's okay for you to say, yeah. Y'all, I'm from Texas, okay? So I'm not stereotyping, so don't come for me. I just like to do my shout outs for Texas. All right. So we're getting ready to get started because I'm just so super excited today. So I want you to go grab your cups really fast. Go, 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 go. So I can pour this piping hot tea. After you get your cups, go ahead and find that cozy seat and we'll be hanging out for about an hourish or so. So just tell the kids just a little bit. I'll go get you ice cream in a minute. All right. Tell the boo, hold on, boo. Okay, just hold on and I'll have all the time in the world for you. And if you at work, just listen, nod your head, hit that keyboard, make sure that keyboard does not go to sleep. Okay? Whatever you do when you listening to the show. All right. So I'm gonna wait a little bit. All right. So hopefully you're getting settled in so we can get started on the show. I want to throw out a mental health tip. I want to start incorporating this into my shows. So you may hear me say in future episodes, and I probably have said in previous episodes, to command your day. Commanding your day is so important, and you're probably wondering, what does that mean, command my day? I'm glad you asked. And if you didn't ask, I hope you're wondering, like, what is she talking about? Okay. And if you're thinking about it, I heard you. So I'm going to answer your question too. All right. So commanding your day means merely just getting up in the morning and setting your day on a positive track. Here we go. Most people stay in the bed and they love to snooze. They love hitting snooze. That's all they do. Some people hit an average of snooze about 5 times, and next thing you know, they are up, making a mad dash, running, trying to get everybody together, get the kids together, trying to do all, and you just running, and you don't stop running until you get to your desk at work or at school or wherever you're going. Here's the problem: if you jump up at the last minute trying to get something done, there is zero room for mistakes. All right. No traffic jams because that'll mess your day up. No accidents on the road. No kids tantruming. And let me tell you another thing that is probably bad for coffee drinkers. If you have that coffee in that Keurig and you forget to hit that button to brew that coffee, but you got to get out of the door. You talk about bad. So you're already on edge, leaving the house, and by the time you get to work, you are so flustered and you don't know. Ooh, ooh, yeah. All right. So commanding your day means instead of sleeping all the way to the very end, I want to encourage you to set that alarm clock back a little earlier. And you're probably saying, Kimberlon B, what in the world are you talking about? No, no, no. Hear me out. If you set the clock back, whether it's for 5 minutes or 50 minutes, that alarm clock can go off. Those that snooze, and you may want to add some extra minutes in there so you can just get your snooze on a little bit so you can feel good about that. But once that alarm goes off, open your eyes and you're able to take that time to just be grateful, right? Be grateful for what's going on. If you like to pray, you can pray during that time, and that'll be uninterrupted, hopefully free of distractions because you're starting your day early. If you like to do mantras, you'll have time to do those mantras. If you like doing positive affirmations, you'll do those. You can sing, you can say a poem, whatever you want to do. But that's how you command your day, and you're actually starting your day off on the right track. Now, there's no guarantee that your day is just going to go smooth because you've commanded your day, right? Because one thing that we do know is that life be lifing. So we don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how, why, whatever. But at least you took that time out to command your day. So just in case those oopsies come up or life is life, and you'll be able to navigate them a little better, and you took that time out to just refuel and refresh for that day. All right. So I just had to share that with you. I hope that you found that beneficial. So we're getting ready to get started on the show because I'm excited. I have Kayla Wildchild Howard in the house today, hanging out here with me, y'all. Woo woo! Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Woo hoo! Sorry, I had to get that out, y'all. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the disclaimer. Now, you'll hear a disclaimer in the intro. I know, hey, the intro is kind of long, but I want to make sure I get all the preliminaries out of the way before we get it started. But in each show, because I talk about different topics, I want to make sure that we have a disclaimer specifically for this show. Okay? All right, so I will mention several examples to provide insight on the impact of laughter, humor, and mental health. Okay. And so there is actually a connection. I know I said impact, but there's actually a connection too. And because laughter and humor can definitely impact your mental health, it can really make you feel good on the inside. So, my guest will also provide some insider information. Okay, but it's from a comedian's perspective, right? That's the only type of insider information we're given on this show. We are legal on this show. I will be mentioning some names, but just know I'm not going to cover any specific details on people used in today's show. As always, the part that I'm focusing on is the general mental health information to increase awareness. So, there's no need to challenge me with the wouldas, couldas, and shouldas, and you got that wrong. That's not how that happened. This, that. I don't want to get caught in the details because that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the general mental health information. Okay. All right. So we're getting ready to get started on the laughter, humor, and its connection to mental health. So a little history on laughter and humor. It starts with a ha and it ends with a ha. Sorry. Look, I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying to warm up for our guests for today. So here, y'all, don't judge me. Don't throw any cyber tomatoes, right? Just keep listening. It's gonna get better. I promise you. The show is gonna get better, and I'm gonna get better with my jokes. All right, sorry. All right, so back to the history. Laughter and humor has existed in societies throughout the ages. And it also plays an important role in many mythologies worldwide. So many ancient, ancient philosophers, such as Aristotle and Plato, and other modern day philosophers, have considered humor or laughter to be a central phenomenon in the lives of people and society. So, the place of humor in mythologies and its attention it has received by philosophers attest to its importance for the very delicate balance between human well being, divinity, and society. However, the use of humor is not limited to storytelling or theorizing. There's actually scripture, church folks, okay? Okay. And I'm not making fun of throwing shots because, man, I like when everything ties to scripture myself, okay? Because I can tie everything back to scripture. But there's actually scripture to support the benefits of humor and mental health. And it's a well known Proverbs, and it's from Proverbs 17:22. That's how you can tell when people go to church because they're going to give you the book, the chapter, and the verse. And so the scripture reads, "A merry heart does good like a medicine." So, and that scripture has actually been used throughout the ages. And records show that physicians and other healthcare professionals have been advocating for the potentially curative aspects of humor for hundreds of years. Okay. So that means it's been around for a long time and it actually has proved its effectiveness. All right. Although the science of humor is a relatively young field, Research from the last 30 years has supported that the mechanisms through which humor can positively impact both mental and physical health, which is awesome that it has a positive effect. Humor also has the potential to create pain relief. That's amazing that it helps with pain. It strengthens the immune function, and also it encourages positive emotions, of course. It helps us manage stress, and it helps us break away from distress. And also it improves social interactions with others. So, as a result of the positive effects of laughter and humor in adults and children, there has been a growing use of humor and laughter to address mental illnesses as well. So, I want to take a little time and I actually want to break that down a bit. Okay. So, humor can be defined as the ability to perceive or express the humorous aspects of a situation. Therefore, when dealing with stressful events or situations, humor can act as a useful coping strategy, which is cool. All right. To help reduce that stress and increase that positive effect. Humor is generally considered an adaptive coping strategy. And what this means is that it is a strategy that has been proven to be effective in reducing perceived stress in the event of stressful events also. And you can also combine it with other coping strategies, what makes it cool. So it can adapt to that situation and help you be able to navigate it. um, Humor is also effective in increasing psychological well-being and reducing psychological symptoms. So in general, the beneficial effect of humor can be helpful with reducing stress, anxiety, depression, other forms of distress, while increasing optimism, social relationships, and life satisfaction. All right. So now we talked about the positive effects of humor. Now we're going to talk about the other side of humor, okay? It can either be used to help us feel good, but it can also help us avoid certain emotions too, or from experiencing, certain emotions. So it can be an avoidant coping strategy, in other words. Now, I know you probably thinking, all right, Kimberlon B, I was just feeling good. You was telling me about humor and laughing and all the positive effects of it. And now you want to tell me about the bad side of humor. Way to turn my smile upside down. Y'all, like I said before, it's going to get better. All right. So we've covered some of the positive benefits of humor and laughter, right? But the way humor can be used as an avoidant coping style, for example, is when you hear people laughing at stuff that's hurtful. You like something may happen to them and then you see them laugh and you're like, oh, are they okay? But that's their way of like just navigating the situation. Um, Using laughter and jokes to prevent others from seeing your pain. I mean, if you think about it, when I'm gonna give an example, like when someone breaks up with somebody and you see them and they like, "How are you doing?" and they, "Oh, I'm fine," and then they throw out a little joke. It could be like, "How are you doing today?" and somebody may say about a relationship they just got out of. They may say, "Baby, that relationship was just like a teacup ride. Those twists and turns. I'm so glad that I got out of that relationship." And you all maybe, we may laugh it off because that's what we do. But actually, you are hurting on the inside. You may have been just crying that very morning. It may have been hard for you to get out of bed, hard to get dressed. You didn't want to do your commanding your days, right? None of that, right? Um, and so it can really help us mask or avoid that, hey, I'm actually hurting. Okay. And also, using humor as an avoidant coping strategy more than likely increases the burden of stress and could lead to poor mental health. So it's like, she's okay. Way to go. But no, but really, humor seems to play a special role in determining the coping resource of an individual. I do like to throw this in that humor style is not a guaranteed one way for sure way to help people. Some people, humor may not work on, it may be ineffective. Um, some people probably only use humor as an avoidant coping style. So, even though it does make us feel good, some people's personality may not align to using that humor. So, just know if humor doesn't work for you, if laughter doesn't work for you, put other coping strategies in your toolbox that you can pull out and use at any time. All right, because you can actually again combine it with other coping strategies or not if it doesn't fit for you, if it doesn't work for you. But whatever strategies that you use, even if it is humor and laughter, just combine it with whatever you need to combine it with to improve your overall health. Mm. All right, so we're getting ready to switch a little bit and start talking about humor and laughter in the life of a comedian. And so my guest will be talking soon. But before we get there, I wanted to just bring this up that you might have noticed that a significant portion of people, or comedians, that make us laugh for a living are also dealing with depression. I mean, we see it all the time. Or they may be dealing with another mental illness, right? So it makes me wonder, is there a connection between comedy and mental illness? Or are these public figures just more visible? And that's why the link between depression and comedy seems so strong. I'm not trying to say comedy is a bad thing. I'm not trying to say that it impacts mental health, but this is an observation that I noticed about comedians. And that's why I'm glad that I have a comedian joining me today to give us that insight. Okay, if you paid attention in the media lately, like I'm just going to throw out some names like Pete Davidson. I know there was a concern about him a while back and it caught everyone's attention. Remember, Russell Brand was an actor and he stepped away from it, really a party guy. I think he was into um, drugs or had an addiction or something. And now he's a mental health advocate. So we got to remember that with comedians, even though they are comedians and they make us laugh, they're humans too. So they have feelings too. I think we get caught up in the fact that they laugh, they joke, and they make us laugh, but they are still humans. And they also get impacted by depression and anxiety, so forth and so on. Um, so are comedians more likely to face more mental health challenges? Question I want to know, and it's a question that I'm going to ask our guest that's joining me right now. Um, when you realize that some of your favorite comedians are facing mental health challenges, some of you may actually wonder why. um, it's a pressure to perform as a comedian because you got one job. Your one job is to make people laugh. So you're going out, you prepare a set, you go in front of people. Your goal is to make people laugh. If they don't laugh, then it's almost like you probably lost a job or you probably think you failed at that job. So it's really hard for them to perform. And I believe that there's stigmas, and society may perceive that because comedians make us laugh, that they're happy all the time. And so if they're perceived out in the limelight that they're happy all the time, if they are going through something, they can't come out and say, I'm struggling. How would somebody take that? Or can they come out? Do they have time to come out? we're going to look into that too. Um, I want to just name a few comedians that have publicly faced addiction or mental health struggles. Um, Farley, for those that remember Chris Farley, he actually died from a drug overdose. There's also Sarah Silverman, and she talked about her depression. She has been depressed since, I think she mentioned since she was 13, and how she's navigated that. We know Richard Pryor had an addiction, and probably struggled with mental health issues as well. I mean, there's so many people out there. Dave Chappelle had to actually take a break because of the pressures that was going on behind the scenes. And he took a break and he had to refresh. That's what I like to call it, because I don't know what people do to get themselves back on track, but I'm going to say refresh. And now, he's back out doing things the way he wants to do. But then everybody heart probably was broken when we received the news about Robin Williams, right? Because I mean, he made us laugh from being an actor, being a comedian. But we were all surprised at the age of 63 that he died by suicide. Robin Williams was dealing with depression. He had an addiction, I believe, and then he just found out that he had a physical health issue that would have been life changing. And there was a lot that he couldn't deal with, but I think it really caught our attention when he died by suicide. So I'm glad that in the comedian world, after that happened, and it probably started before, that there's a mental health group that's called like the Laugh Factory, and it's there and it's present to help comedians deal with their mental health. And sometimes it's better to have a peer that knows what that feels like and how, what you have to deal with in order to be a comedian. And it could be this way with any occupation. Again, I'm just talking about it from the standpoint of being a comedian, to have other comedians that's there that understands the job and understands how you can feel, so they can give some strategies that could potentially work with the new comedians or comedians that's been in the field. We're getting ready to talk to our comedian that's in the house today, but I want to mention one more thing before I bring her up. There is such a thing called the sad clown paradox. And it's like, whoa, you talk about something that's down and stigmatized. Gee whiz. No, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And I have already talked to Kayla Wildchild about the sad clown paradox. So it's a contradictory presence of comedy and mental health issues such as depression. Right? So this may answer the questions, why comedians are depressed. This concept is based on an idea from Sigmund Freud, that comedians attempt to make others laugh as a way to relieve their anxieties or sadness. In effect, being a mental illness clown. I'm like, sheesh. Um, it's not uncommon to hear in comedians' biographies that they started being funny because others needed them to. And I mean, this can sound old, so familiar. Even if we think about our own lives, why we started doing things because somebody needed us to do. In their dire upbringings, it was a way to make their parents happy or to escape their world just to find joy. Okay? So this sad clown paradox is a thing that can happen because some people enter into the field of becoming a comedian because of the hurt they felt. And as the sad clown paradox say, they don't want others to hurt. Similar to why I became a counselor, because I dealt with feelings of hurt. I dealt with feelings of insecurity. Y'all, I'm super transparent. Okay, so I'm not just sitting up here, falling apart. I'm just trying to share what I'm going through, okay? Because that was a stigma for me for the longest, feeling less than or whatever. And I believe that's why I got into the field, because I wanted others to feel better. But there's these things that's called boundaries. But you'll know how to work alongside somebody, and you'll learn not to accept those feelings. That's the same thing with comedians. Again, I don't want to give it a bad rap. I don't want to say that you want to become a comedian because you're depressed and had the worst childhood. That's not true. That's nothing but a stigma. I am merely just sharing the information because I want others to know you got to be aware of what you need to do for yourself and take care of yourself while you're taking care of others. There is a way that you can navigate being there for people and taking care of yourself all at the same time. So I'm just wanted to just share that. Okay, we're just looking at the comedianship from this standpoint on the show because that's what we're talking about today. So we have covered a lot. We're jam packed a lot into this hour, and I'm excited. So now we have discussed the benefits of laughter and humor in regards to mental health. So laugh a little if you want to laugh. If you don't have to laugh. Sorry. But now I want to switch gears to discuss a vehicle, meep, meep, no, I'm playing, for laughter, humor, and comedy. Right? Who doesn't enjoy a good laugh every now and then? So now we're getting ready to sit down. I know I've been talking about this throughout the show. The time is here. I just wanted to get this out of the way that we're getting ready to talk to Kayla Wildchild Howard and discuss mental health and its presence in the life of a comedian. Yay! All right, I am privileged to share the space today with someone that is so dear to me. She is a daughter, a mom, an entrepreneur, and has the funniest job of all. She's a comedian. Welcome to Good Tea and Reads, Kayla Wildchild Howard.
Hi.
Yay.
Happy to be here.
You sure don't sound happy to be here. No, I'm joking. Now, since you have a comedy name, I have to create a comedy name for myself. So I was thinking, I would say Lock Doc, but that's actually my loctician name. So she's fired, so I can't use her name. So I decided to choose a name from this game that they were playing in this therapist Facebook group. So you know them games when they say the color of your shirt and the last thing you ate. So my name was actually Little Black Taco. And they told me that sounded like a prison name. But you know what? I'm going to shoot my shot. That's going to be my comedian name. So I am Kimbralon Little Black Taco B.
Awesome.
So we're getting ready to get started, y'all. I'm using this as my comedian name. It's my new career, y'all. Okay, so I've been waiting to use this name. So for the rest of this interview, you're gonna be Wild Child, and I'm gonna be Little Black Taco.
All right, sounds good.
You ready?
I'm ready.
First question: can you share why you became a comedian?
I love this question. So, I actually used to be a teacher, and I guess I'm not a teacher anymore. And I guess I miss the idea of people laughing at me in front of the room. So the person I was dating, he actually was a comedian, and I got into it because I really like respected the people in the profession, like their brevity that they had, like getting up there, telling jokes, things like that. And I wanted to experience that myself, and I did it, just kind of fooling around. And I ended up falling in love with it, and now it's become a career for me.
All right. How did you come up with Wild Child?
So that's funny. My very first open mic, I asked another comedian when he looked at me what he thought, and he said wild. I'll leave that up to your interpretation as far as what that means. Shout out to Juan Montoya. But I combined that with child because it rhymed, and I thought it was very catchy. And I immediately went on Instagram to see if it was available, and it was. So I'm like, okay, clearly Wild Child was meant to be.
Okay, since you said it rhymed, then maybe my name shouldn't be Little Black Taco. Maybe it should be Little Black Crack.
That definitely sounds like a prison name.
I can't even go to prison with that name.
I didn't say you'll be safe in there.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, here at Good Tea and Reads, we actually talk about mental health, and I really wanted to explore like mental health, laughter, humor, and then in the life of a comedian as well. So I'm so glad that you came to talk to us so I could get that comedian's perspective because, I think that I'm a comedian, but I don't know, if I can execute as one. I'm funny to me, right? But I noticed when I was doing my research that there are so many articles that discuss how comedians have like depression, anxiety, addictions, and other mental illnesses due to the goal of having a funny set, right? That's received by all. I've learned that you got to get up there, you got to deliver, you got to execute, and people got to laugh.
Right.
And if they don't laugh, they heckle, they do all this stuff, and you get bad reviews. So I know that has to be heavy. So as a fairly new comedian, I mean, I know you've been in the game a little bit, but can you provide insight into the pressures of being successful in the field and making people laugh?
So, just to provide some insight for those of you who are not aware, most comedians are white and male. I am a black female comedian. So, right away, I'm already marginalized twice. That makes it even more difficult to really break into the entertainment world. There's a lot more pressure to prove that I am funny, I am bookable, I am marketable because I'm not white and I'm not male. So for me personally, what I experience is definitely a lot of having to prove myself. A lot of that, it's like that saying, we have to work double to get half. That's definitely been my experience. I have to write on a daily, consistent basis. I have to continually roll out new material. I have to continually test material to see if it's going to pass. And that's a lot. Comedy is really a second job because it's not just you do your 5 minutes on stage and you get off. That 5 minute set that you wrote could actually have taken you 5 days, 5 hours, even. So, it's definitely a lot of pressure. And I do have a lot of comedian friends, and they do utilize, different substances and different, maybe risky, like they engage in risky behaviors, really just coping with the pressure of life and also the pressure to deliver. You will not get booked if you're not funny.
Jeez.
You will not get booked if you don't show up for the scheduled gigs. Like, there's no room for error when you are an entertainer. Like, it's very much true when they say the show must go on, and sometimes that's without you.
Wow. That's really deep. That's really deep. And that does sound like it's intense pressure. I know, again, when I was actually researching, I had shared in the show earlier with people that was listening, there's this term called the sad clown paradox. I was like, oh, what is that? But it basically describes comedians using comedy to make others laugh in hopes of helping others not feel the pain, their anxieties, their depression, and how they feel. So in other words, comedians want people to not feel what they may be feeling. They want everybody else to experience that laughter. But the term sad clown paradox alone almost sounds stigmatizing, but it does shed light on that comedians are people too. So do you think the sad clown paradox and other stigmas prevent comedians from taking care of their mental health in healthier ways, I guess I should say? Because I know you mentioned substances and risky behavior. Um, but do you think the stigmas prevent them from going to therapy, getting medication, or other healthy avenues?
Yes. And I say that because a lot of comedians will joke about the fact that they use comedy as their therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Comedy is not therapy. You know, it can be therapeutic. Laughter is
Right.
medicine, it's healing, it's all of the above. But I do think that there's a negative association attached to therapy that should not be there. And that also bars a lot of comedians from actually doing the work to seek their mental health. I mean, we talk about, we, as in myself and other comedians, talk about how a lot of comedians are very angry. They're not
Right.
personable, they're not professional because, we've all experienced trauma. Some of us are, healing and managing, healing from that trauma and managing it the best way we can. That's not a lot of people. And again, there's just a lot of stigma attached to actually taking the steps required to address your mental health. A lot of people simply aren't ready to face that trauma. It's easier to not have to face it and to engage in something else that's more fulfilling than healing,
That's true.
because healing is not rainbows and prayer circles. It's not, sometimes healing is very ugly. It's a solitude, it's crying, it's, yelling into a pillow. There's a lot of negative feelings associated with healing, and it's just easier for most comedians who are in this business just to not have to deal with it. And when you do deal with it, you pretty much put yourself, you kind of set yourself up for a joke, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely a stigma attached to going to therapy and healing yourself. But I'm still an advocate for therapy. I know what it's done for me personally. I've been in therapy since about 2019 right now, and it's just made me a better person, for myself, but also for the people around who I love. So it's definitely something that you should do, even though yes, there is that negative stigma attached to it, even more so for entertainers, because you think we're making you laugh because we're happy. But really, like you said, we're the sad clown paradox. We're doing it because we're really miserable inside, and we don't want that to reflect on you.
Yeah, I think about that. I know earlier on the show I talked about, of course, some of the other comedians, and I think the one everybody really highlighted, even though, there's been John Candy and Richard Pryor and, other Sarah Silverman, but Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody really talked about Robin Williams because he just made people laugh as an actor, as a comedian. And then he actually died by suicide.
Right,
You know, um, Everybody could speculate on the reasons why. I know they said he battled depression, dealt with substances, and then found out that he had a health issue.
right,
And just as you mentioned, with entertainers, it's hard for someone to say, "Hey, I need to take a pause. I'm suffering,"
right,
or "I just found out that I have, this health issue," because who's gonna believe you, who's gonna laugh at you? You still have a job to do,
right,
but you can't cope.
right. Absolutely.
You can't cope because you can't cope because you're dealing with the health issues. But now I'm not at a place that I can make somebody laugh anymore
Wow. Yeah,
because I'm
definitely.
miserable.
Absolutely. And then going back to what I said earlier about the show going on, there's a lot of comedians who will take off of comedy to, address their mental health, and they won't get booked anymore. If you,
Wow.
like if you don't go to your scheduled booking, that pretty much puts a target on your back. They don't care that you're taking time off to address your mental health, because
Jeez.
there's a lot of comedians. Comedy is definitely growing a lot. There's a lot of comedians. I mean, somebody said, or like they were guesstimating there's like 700 comedians and only like
Wow.
about 7 comedy clubs here in Arizona. So if you put it in that perspective, if you don't show up for your gig because you're taking care of your mental health, there's 699 other comedians waiting for that spot. So
Jeez.
that's also a lot of pressure as well. Do I get up and tell these jokes, or do I sit down with my therapist and hash out this trauma that's barring me from being more successful?
Wow. And jeopardizing your career, something that you
Absolutely.
want to do. So that
Absolutely.
definitely doesn't help. That's another attack on your mental health. Um, I noticed that just like you were saying about taking that time out, that it's hard to take time out. And I'm glad that you even shared the numbers. That is 700 people. You can't do it, somebody else can.
Right.
I noticed in the comic field that there's actually are some comedians that are actually not taking that time out, but they're bringing the conversations of mental health to the stage. to talk about mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're actually promoting taking care of your mental health within their set, which I think is really cool. There was a comedian that actually wrote an article on 5 things a comedian can do to manage their mental health. So I thought that was pretty cool. So my question to you is that do you think incorporating mental illness and how a person takes care of their mental illness will encourage the comic community and the comedy show attendees to take care of their mental health?
Absolutely. Right now, I want to highlight Saskia B and Tony B. They actually have a joint podcast, and it's called Be Well. They are two comedians who are actively in therapy.
Nice.
And I love that because it helps too when you yourself are a comedian, to like talk to somebody else who has the same struggles as you do as a comedian. And I definitely think there's value in that. I remember a comedian, I only saw him one time. He was at Tempe Improv, and I totally forgot his name. But what he told me, he was like, always wrap up your set saying something important. Like it may not necessarily be funny, but definitely wrap up your set saying something important and memorable. So one of my bits that I actually do is I have two people in the audience actually compete in this activity. So I've done it with Rubik's Cubes, I've done it with lollipops, and I've done it with paper. And my most recent time that I did it, I actually did it with paper. So I instructed both of the volunteers that were voluntold to fold up the paper as many times as they could. But I told the other one that he couldn't use his hands. And so I did that visual demonstration, and I always say, this right here, like the person who was struggling to fold that paper, I'm like, that's what it's like to be a Black female entertainer. It's very difficult, for us. And that's a visual representation. That joke is interesting because sometimes I get laughs and sometimes I get like applause, like wow. But I think that comedians definitely have a unique platform that we should be utilizing to promote mental health awareness. Yes. Whether that's us being on a podcast talking about the value of therapy, whether that's incorporating the importance of therapy into our set, or actively teaching. I know for me, something else I'm doing that I really want to talk about later is I'm actually I founded a comedy club. It's called Cool Kids Comedy Club, and I love it for that reason because we're teaching students in the community comedy. Of course, we're teaching them how to write jokes. But within that, we're also teaching them those coping skills because laughter is a very underrated coping skill.
Yes.
The use of humor can really get you through. And I remember when I was thinking about people who would laugh through their pain, I'm like, why are they laughing? That's not funny. Mm-hmm. But they're not laughing because it's funny. They're laughing because that's getting them through it.
Yes.
And I just think about, again, like as a comedian, we have a very unique ability to connect with our audience. And that's the opportune time to share the importance of mental health, the importance of therapy and coping skills in your everyday life.
That is awesome. I like that. And I want to hear more about the Cool Kids comedy. But before I get there, I have a question I have to ask you. So, what are you doing to care for your mental health outside of comedy?
I know. I was definitely going to say attending other people's comedy shows.
Okay. Oh, you can say that.
Because I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan of the art form. I'm a fan of writing. I'm a fan of how people choose to deliver. Some popular comedians that I follow and that I watch, Sebastian Monalesco, he's like a physical comedian. So he's very like animated when he delivers. So I would definitely say watching shows, but also watching stand-up on Netflix as well. There's a lot of stand-up comedy specials on Netflix now more than ever. So I definitely check those out. I am in therapy also. I've been in therapy since about 2019, actually maybe 2018. So I'm still doing therapy, one-on-one, just traditional talk therapy. I'm very active, so I'm like in the community a lot. I'm always meeting new people. I have children, so I'm always spending time with my kids. We always go on different family outings and things. Particularly this weekend, what I'm doing for mental health is that I sent my kids to a weekend camp. So I'm definitely a proponent of taking a break from your children. Yes, you can be a great parent and still have that great time to just be and decompress. Prayer definitely helps. Those of you who have a belief system that you adhere to, prayer helps. I talk to my friends and my family a lot.
Okay.
I definitely vent a lot to my family and friends, and that has saved me from jail. So
Hey.
I'm just gonna continue to do that. But there's a lot that I do. When it's not so hot outside, I like hiking. So I engage in like physical activity also to kind of take care of my mental health as well. So there's a lot of different strategies that I've implemented as far as me personally to address and take care of my mental health.
That's awesome. You are inspiring me as Little Black Taco to just get on out there and try these things and go visit people and go do a set or something.
Let me tell you, I cannot begin to tell you how many people have said that. It takes a lot to be a stand up comedian because what people don't realize is that, again, I may only get up and talk in front of you for 5 minutes, but I may have to prepare 5 hours.
Oh man.
And I'm a clean comedian, so I can't when I first started comedy, I was not a clean comedian. I just came out and I was just saying, things that I thought people wanted to hear.
Beep, beep.
Exactly. That exactly. But now that I'm a clean comedian, it forces me to be more creative.
Okay.
So definitely, I'm not spending just 5 minutes writing my sets anymore. I'm spending 5 hours, sometimes 5 days,
Ooh.
really crafting my set before I deliver it to the audience. Because my personal goal is to get as much laughter throughout my set as possible. I don't want laughter just at the beginning or laughter just at the end. I want it consistently through my set. So that puts pressure on me to consistently think of, consistently think of material that's funny. How am I going to connect with this audience? Something else too that I do to promote that laughter is like before the show, if I'm in the venue, if I'm able to get there on time, I actually go around to the audience and just thank them for being there. Just being personable really goes a long way in this industry. Don't listen to what anybody else has to tell you about, being mean, being a jerk, being personable. I didn't say nice. Being personable will take you a long way for sure.
Nice. That's nice to know. Yeah, so I need to be personable.
Yes.
You think they'll receive me if I say, hey, I'm Little Black Taco?
It's an interesting stage name. The host might say it sarcastically when they bring you up. But
okay.
Yeah, I get a lot of flack too about my stage name, Wild Child. I know one of my fellow comedians, shout out to Gage Flick, said I'm actually more of a mild mannered adult. And I thought that was hilarious. But a lot of people want me to kind of start going by my real name now. And I don't know. I'm not ready for that yet. I kind of like Wild Child. It's grown on me. It's who I am. And so I'm sticking with it for now. But we'll see what the future holds.
All right. Perfect. I know you had mentioned earlier Cool Kids Comedy. And I was going to ask you, outside of the comedy arena, are you doing anything for the community? And if it's Cool Kids Comedy, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I want to take it back to the beginning as far as why I started Cool Kids Comedy Club in the first place. So I actually am a former high school special education teacher and curriculum writer. I did that for over 9 years. And I fell in love with comedy. I've been doing it about 9 months now. And I fell in love with it. And I decided, and I was thinking about, okay, what's a way that we can combine education and comedy? Okay. And that's how Cool Kids Comedy Club came to be. So although some of the students in our program might become comedians, that's not the goal. The goal is to teach students essential life and literacy skills through comedy. Mm-hmm. If you tell a kid to write an essay, they might be like, I don't want to do that. But if you say, hey, we're going to write jokes, they're going to be more engaged, like, oh, I get to make people laugh. I get to laugh myself. So that's really how it came to be. And it has grown into something much, much more. We meet once a week at the Tempe Public Library. But what I like as far as what it's doing for the community at large is, of course, we're taking in at-risk, underrepresented students and we're helping get them on the right track. but we're also establishing partnerships with local restaurants to provide food and achievement awards for kids who enroll in the program. We are actually establishing partnerships with community colleges to get the high school students who enroll in our programs possibly scholarships for college. So we're really taking what could be a really kind of small and intimate thing and growing it into something more global. And that's really what I want to see. And that's reflective of the support that I've personally received as a comedian. That's the support that I want to give back to the kids who need it the most.
Oh, that's nice. I really want to shout you out because I think doing a good thing in the community, we were talking about laughter and humor during the set, and it's really important. So, people, if you don't take care of your mental health, then the joke is on you. There's so, y'all, I'm trying to shoot my shot at this thing. But no, seriously, I like what you're doing in the community, like educational wise, mental health wise, because that can actually help our kiddos, you know?
Absolutely.
And I guess the people that's helping them also.
Yes, it's important. And there's a type of therapy that's actually called laugh therapy. There are people who travel around and they just literally the therapy session is just all laughter.
Yes.
And even if you're forcing yourself to laugh, it shuts your brain off from what you're thinking about.
Yes.
And it's so impactful. And I just think about how I'm such an overall happy person, but I think I compare that to like how often I'm laughing. I'm laughing all the time. If I'm not talking, I'm laughing.
Yes.
Because it makes me feel good when I laugh. You know, I like to be able to make other people laugh as well, which is why I'm also a comedian. There's a lot of benefits of laughter. Like it literally refocuses your mind.
Yep.
It relaxes you, all of that. There's so many benefits in just laughing. So even if you're having a hard day, if you're at the office, if you're picking up your kids from school, you're waiting in that awful parent pickup line that we all have to sit in, the dreaded line, just laugh. Just let it go, release it, and you'll feel so much better. Like when I'm angry, my shoulders are tight, I'm on edge. When I start laughing, I just relax. You can literally see the physical benefits of laughing as well.
Y'all, hearing Wild Child laugh will bring laughter into your life. There's a signature laugh.
Yes.
So that's really exciting. I know we have just a few more minutes, and you mentioned about Cool Kids Comedy, and I like when people come to Good Tea and Reads because I want people to know how they can find you. And I know that some people may be outside the Phoenix metro area. So what if they wanted to just donate and pour into you because you're pouring into our future to make laughter just contagious? Where can we find you?
All right. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to even put this information out there. We are on Instagram. You can find us on Instagram at Cool Kids Comedy Club, literally like it's spelled. Traditional spelling for cool in comedy and club. I just want to throw that out there. Traditional spelling for kids as well. So we're on Instagram. We also have a website, www.coolkidscomedyclub.org. We are a nonprofit. We are 501c3. You can look us up on the IRS website to verify. So just know that your donations in kind or monetary are tax deductible. And I mean, we appreciate it. You know, like I said, you can find me in those two places. You might see me out at a comedy show you're at. We do have a benefit comedy show coming up on April 28th at 4 p.m. at Sir Crazy Comedy Club at Westgate. If you're in the area, come out. If you're not in the area, still come out. It's a fundraiser show, so we're going to deliver some nice, clean comedy, and then also raise money for a good cause. So.
Oh, that'll be so great. What if they're outside the Phoenix metro area? Is there a way that they can actually donate?
Yes, absolutely. So on our website, we're currently running a GoFundMe right now. Our whole focus this year is to do more in 2024. I like the way that rhymes.
Hey.
And we can definitely use your help to do that. We have a GoFundMe up right now. It's attached to our website. So when you go there, there'll be a donate now button. You are free to donate. Again, your donations are tax deductible, which is a nice benefit, an added benefit. You get to help the community. You get to, kind of alleviate your tax burden as well. Also on our website, on our Instagram, Cool Kids Comedy Club, we also have a link where you're able to donate as well. So, yeah.
Perfect, everyone. So you pour in, you get poured back into, right? It's tax deductible, y'all. Okay, just remember that. And you're helping a good cause. So it's a win win for everyone. Well, Wild Child, I am so glad that you came to Good Tea and Reads today. It was awesome having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so now after we leave this place, I'm going to start my career. So,
sounds good. Make sure you write every day.
I'm gonna write every day, and I'm gonna spend. If you spend in 5 hours, I'll probably spend about 10 to get 5 minutes. Okay, but y'all, this is awesome. Laughter and humor is so important that it can actually boost our mental health. And we talked about that earlier. I know we hear some of the downsides, but always remember that it's an upside. Okay, so awareness of mental health as well. We want to talk about it in every field. Please listen to this again. Donate to Cool Kids Comedy. It's helping them not only write jokes, it's helping their self esteem, and it's also helping with writing skills. I mean, it's an all around win, and it's with experienced people in the community. Also, what's neat about it is that different comedians come in and teach the class, so they're learning different techniques. So, all right, everyone. So this has been great on Good Tea and Reads. Next week we will be talking about. I'm not gonna tell you, right? I'm just gonna keep it to myself. We may be talking about Little Black Taco's career. Okay. All right. Well, this has been great and awesome. Take care of yourself. Do something fun. Go check out a comedy show, or go perform a set. Right. Or you know what? Just become be an honest audience member or something. Right. All right, do something good for yourself. Until next time, signing off. This has been another fabulous episode on Good Tea and Reads. I am your host, Kimbralon B, and I want to leave you with one message. If you or someone you know is struggling or is in crisis, help is available. You can call or text 988, or you can chat at 988lifeline.org. One more option, you can also text Mental Health of America at 741-741. Choose to not suffer in silence. And remember, awareness of mental health is wealth. Signing off.